Hey guys, it's model making time, and we're here again at Scale Model World. Now we're going to have a look at what's new at Scale Model World. So that includes what the manufacturers are bringing to the table. We've got so many here, from Tamiya and Italeri up there, Airfix there, Revell down there, ICM there. There's just so many of them. So we're going to go and have a look at what they have to offer. We've also got interviews with both Airfix and especially with IPMS too. How exciting. Well, let's get into it, guys.
As ever, a big presence at Scale Model World this year, 2024, saw Airfix release 2 new kits. Well, I say release, announce 2 new kits. They had the Sea King and the Lysander. But of course, their stand is more than just their new releases, although you can see a new vintage classic there as well. They also just showed kind of their range as it is at the time, including these lovely guards and guard bands. The Hampton is a recent re-release as a vintage classic, and they've also got the Bristol Freighter here as well, which has literally just been announced, and I'm very excited to see all the what-if schemes that are going to come out of that. Airfix continues to go from strength to strength each year, it seems. And some of the releases this year, including the B24, have gone down an absolute storm, and I've seen so many wonderful reviews of those. So with the announcement yesterday of this, the Western Lysander in 1/48 scale, again, the whole of the scale modelling community was abuzz looking for this kit. And weirdly enough, there were a lot of these at the show. If you haven't seen already, go and check out my full Scale Model World video. But you can see here, the detail on this kit is fantastic. And you know what? I think this is the kit that is going to make me want to build something in 1/48. It's genuinely a beautiful looking kit. It's just stunning. I just can't get over the detail here. The rest of Airfix's range remained on display. Of course, we have the Chinook, which has come out this year as well, and the new variant of the Spitfire in 1/24 as well. Unfortunately, this year we were not able to get a glimpse at what will be the Airfix Club Kit. Hopefully, we will see what will be in store for 2025 soon. But I guess that just gave even more space for the exciting range that Airfix already has on offer. And I know I sound like I'm probably being told to say this, but you'll see in my interview with them coming up very shortly that I just really think Airfix are doing fantastic work.
Hey guys, I'm here with Dale from Airfix to talk about the new releases that they've had and their display at Telford. So you've recently announced 2 new releases. Can you talk to us about what they are?
Yeah, sure. So yesterday, Friday, we announced 1/48 scale, brand new tool Lysander Mark 1, Mark 3, 2 new deco options, amazing kit, brand new tool, brand new digital sculpts for the 2 crew. So yeah, that's due in January with at £40 retail, $39.99. And then we also announced the year 2 release of the 48 scale Sea King HC4, which has 4 deco options. So that was yesterday, and then on the Monday before we did Vintage Classics Bristol Super Freighter.
So talking about the 2 newest releases first of all, the Lysander is obviously one that's been lacking from the overall modelling space for quite a while. What led you to doing that kit now rather than earlier?
Yeah, so there is a 48 scale Lysander kit out there. It's quite old. It's not particularly good. So number one, we think we can, and we have done it a lot better. I think when you look at it, you go, yeah, that's definitely an Airfix type of aircraft to go and do in that scale. Now, or a year ago when we decided to start doing it, we'd already done the Anson, the Bristol Bulldog was just about to be released, so it sort of sits into that sort of frame of products, and also just in terms of product design time. So that's how the schedule fell.
With the Lysander and the Sea King, obviously they're in 1/48 scale, and Airfix has had a lot more releases in that scale as opposed to being predominantly 1/72, which was the one true scale. Is there a reason why it's been more towards that range?
Yeah, so a few people have said that to me today. So this year we've released B24 in 72nd scale, Chinook, 109 starter set, P51 starter set, and Lifeboat. So there's 5 products in 72nd scale this year alone. Now, some people won't count the starter sets, which is unfair really, because they are still 72nd scale, brand new tools, brand new designs. So you've got 5 72nd scale. We've done Bulldog. You can't really count Sea King because it's a year 2 release. So if you're only going to count year 1 stuff, Bulldog, Lysander. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. It's 5 versus 2.
And technically you have the Eurofighter, it's just delayed.
That would be next year now, yeah. So it's not true. A lot of the hype that we do, of course, it tends to be around 48 scale stuff. That's not done because it's 48 scale and it's not sexy enough and being 72nd scale. It's just that's the way that the schedule has fallen. Next year, who knows? There might be a brand new tool, 72nd scale product that we will keep back for a secret release at some point in the year. So when we decided to keep things back from the catalogue, which would have been late last year, we had in mind the Lysander for Telford. Unfortunately, we've missed it in terms of stock, but there is no other 72nd scale tools being released 2 months ago or even in the next couple of months, apart from the Eurofighter, which wouldn't have been the right thing to launch here. So it's just the way it falls, really.
Historically, there have been a few releases that have gone across both scales, like the Defiant was previously in both scales.
Buccaneers, yeah.
Yeah. Is that a trend that may continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I know you're not going to be able to say more, but I still had to ask anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've already done the research packs. We've got CAD available, although we joke internally it's just Alt Shift F4 for 48 scale and Alt Shift F2 for 24 scale, whatever. And of course, it's not that at all. You can't scale up and scale down. The terms I absolutely hate. They are brand new designs, but you get a head start with your research packs, and if you've gone out and scanned any real life stuff, then of course you've already got that. Depending on how old that data is and who's running those projects, sometimes it's really good to actually, yes, you've got that in the back pocket, but go and get some more stuff. Not because things would have changed, but just to refamiliarise yourself with a lot of the activity. The last year that we did a lot of, we'd done 72nd scale, we'd start doing 48 scale, that was all during the pandemic, which we'd already planned, but it worked perfectly because we couldn't go anywhere. We already had the research packs, we already had the scans, so it just made sense to go, right, okay, let's upscale Buccaneers to 48 scale. Let's do that for, there's a few other things I can't remember off the top of my head. Vampire I think was one as well that year. So it's, depending what the subject matter is, depending on who's done what, you will see it again from us at some point.
And there's been mostly talk about just the proper model kits released by Airfix, but obviously you have all the quick builds as well, which are at the front of the display as well. With a, I want to say Tiger and Sherman.
There's a Tiger and a Firefly, yeah.
Firefly, yeah. In terms of that range progressing, has that been something that Airfix has found really successful and helpful for getting people into the overall hobby as well? Yeah,
I'm not entirely convinced. Well, I haven't got data on how many people start with quick build and end up in Airfix if you separate it like that. We have a good feeling about it, but I haven't got any data on it. We've developed the range again this year with 3 new tooled releases, and we changed some colours on some of the cars. So the Lamborghini Huracan, the Tiger, and the Sherman Firefly. You're unlikely to see anything from us in quick build next year. You might see some different colours and things, but we just need to see how it goes. Those 2 tanks, by the way, have sold so well. We've sold out the first batch. We had to wait for the second one in. Of course, by the time you get the second batch in, you've already built a pre-order book up, and then you get that in, and then you're on the back foot again. So, but I can't complain with how quick build is doing. Our sales team at the moment is very much focused on quick build in certain national accounts, so we're starting to see all that rise up and do really well. And of course we're selling it into Audi and Lidl middle aisle stuff, which has become an annual staple. Never guaranteed. We're very grateful for that business. It really helps us. It helps the quick build brand, but it also helps the Airfix brand and name get out there.
I know in a conversation held yesterday, you talked about improving QC of overall production. Again, I guess the question would be like, what's led to that happening now as opposed to previously? I know people have made comments overall, but like, I'm just sort of curious what's led to that now.
We're always looking at ways of improving, and we're always looking at number of spares requests and returns and bits and pieces like that. So just my comments yesterday about paint, we've got a new range of starter sets, some new paint. It seems to be a thing that wasn't a thing, or certainly wasn't on our radar. It's more of a thing now, and that's a natural progression of stuff. So the team have been amazing at working through that. We've still got a long way to go. People shouldn't be buying brand new kits and getting dry paint. That's not fair. So we've got to sort that out. That is a must. That's fundamental to that product. But we've always been working on that, but it's been a particular focus of ours now. There's been a lot of chatter over the last couple of months about short shots and things. If you actually look at our release schedule, and this isn't an excuse, but we've actually released a lot of vintage classics over the last few months. And when you look at what those short shots are, the majority of those vintage classics. So the percentage of products that we check is the same across all ranges. We should really increase the percentage on vintage classics because they're more likely to have issues. But we jump on this stuff straight away. And I said yesterday, actually, there was a shipment, and I'm not going to name what it was, or it is, came into us last week. It's not going anywhere. It's been scrapped because it's just not good enough. And we've checked an increasing percentage of it. No. So there's some good ones in there, but it doesn't pass muster at all. So that's it. That means that it'll be late, or rather, I won't be able to sell anymore until we get more stuff in. But that's just, I can't let it go knowing what I know. So
compared to other potentially model manufacturers, but not really just in this space, but in any industry, Airfix is a very transparent brand and very engaged with the community. Compared to other companies, why has Airfix chosen to be this way?
Yeah, so when I originally joined Airfix in 2008, my manager Darryl Burge, he was such an outgoing guy, and he'd worked on the brand for years, and he knew so many people, and you can't come here every year and not see familiar faces. And I think to close yourself off to that would be a real shame. We're part of the community. If you don't do interviews like we're doing yours now, I'm very open for doing stuff like this or jumping on live streams or anything like that. I think it's such a massive missed opportunity. I'm quite glad that others don't do it. But so yeah, obviously there's questions that I won't answer, I can't answer. There's things that I really want to say, but I can't say. It wouldn't be right to. But we're all part of a much wider community, and I think the stance that we have as a brand just allows us to be part of that community opposed to just opposite.
Yeah, and I think it's really positive as well. It brings positivity to the space, which sometimes there isn't. So the other new release that you've just had is the Sea King. What's led to that being re-released? Obviously it's been in a couple of scales as well, and this is a new one in 48. What's caused this to come to be? Yeah,
so when we choose our subject matter, we're always looking at how many versions of something that we can do within the tooling, or just by spending a little bit more money on tooling, how far we can stretch that release program. Sea King, because of the nature of the real airframe, was used for so many different types of operation. It lends itself really well to different variants. When we announced Sea King last July, it was very obvious straight away that there will be other versions. So this weekend's or Friday's announcement of the HE4 doesn't come as a surprise to anyone, really. Some people said, why haven't you done the yellow one? A lot of people said, I'm glad you've done the jungly instead of the yellow one. It's a mixed bag. The yellow one will come. There's a lot of things that I won't say will happen, but that will come, because you can already tell that the way that the windows are set and everything else. So the jungly version was always going to come. It would be crazy to only ever release one variant of a product that could easily be turned into several others going down. It's no different to the Mark 9 Spitfire with some slight changes and an extra couple of frames of plastic. All of a sudden you've got a whole new product release. Yes, it's another Spitfire, but it is a different mark with a whole new set of markings, and it's got teeth. So,
which always wins. So yeah. I guess the final thing I wanted to ask was in regards to the newer vintage classic, the Super Freighter. So the Super Freighter had a couple of different boxings, and I guess this is the same with a lot of the vintage classics, which means some schemes get chosen, some don't, and other manufacturers sometimes include like all historic schemes. Why is the decision to sort of go with like one particular boxing of it?
It's actually can be quite simple. So we've used the Roy Cross artwork, which then defines which release and decal schemes we put in the box. That's it.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I know we've, as you say, there's been other variants of it with different decal options and stuff like that. Let's just leave the aftermarket to go off and do that. I know when we announced that on Monday, the what if people just went crazy for it. I'm going to do it in this colour. Never existed in that marking, so we can never cater for that either. Decal sheets are really expensive items. You've heard me say that before. So to start adding loads more schemes to something, when realistically you can only really build one from it anyway, just inflates the retail price, and I don't think that would be right, especially for vintage classics.
Yeah, when you see things like the Rotodyne and how people have just done whatever and been really creative with
They're
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
We can never cater for that. And the Rotodyne, I think, was only ever in one scheme anyway, but I know the Super Freighter was in several, but yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time. It's been great speaking to you, and I look forward to seeing what Airfix has next year.
Pleasure.
Now, this is something I wasn't really sure I would see at Telford Scale Model World, and this is Godhand. They make sprue cutters and other tools, and I'd seen these advertised a lot, and they're being sold and distributed by eModel. When I used to actually live near them, and I recognised them and spoke to them, tried them out, I've actually got a pair now myself, so look forward to them in future videos, because I was blown away by the quality of this tool, and it just shows why Telford's so great, because otherwise I would have never got to try them. But then we head over to the Revell stand, and you can see the mighty Viking at the back of the display there. In the centre of this was the 1/72nd scale F35 Lightning II. This model looks really great, and so many manufacturers have released this, but it makes sense. This is essentially the world's new F16, I guess, in a way. It's going to be pretty much every air arm is going to have a variant of these. So, I expect we're going to see lots of new releases of those, and hopefully in new schemes. It's nice to see the Eurofighter on the display as well in that unique Pacific scheme, but I wish that wasn't sold in the set that it is. But hopefully in the future, we'll see that as its own independent release. The display by Revell is very different to last year's display. Although there is still a fair focus on licensing, it's not front and center this year, which I think is fantastic. This year they have a lot of work in progress, so there's the engine from the Meteor that they're currently working on, and then they've got things that they've released fairly recently as well, like these 144 scale A400 and Tornadoes, 144 scale AWACS, and some ships and newer style models, which are these sort of like bookend styles. They've got them in Game of Thrones and Harry Potter. Now, Revell last year was very much focused on licensing, and that's still a big part of the range. Hence why you see this Chevy Blazer K5 from Stranger Things, and we see a lot more of these sort of licensed kits coming out. But again, I think it was just nice that it wasn't just what felt like a lot of the table this year. There was a really lovely layout by Revell, and I hope that this continues over the year so that we get more and more competition between the model manufacturers at Telford, because I think that brings nothing but positivity overall, and I really wish Revell all the best because they're doing amazing work at the moment. And speaking of things I've not really seen before, but this is Bachman at Scale Model World. Not here for trains, as a lot of people associate them with, but for Trumpeter models and a couple of other brands as well. This enormous ship is the Hired Military Transport HMT Olympic. It is ginormous. Mr. Modeler was like, That's really interesting, but we definitely do not have the room for this, but the quality on it looks pretty good. There were a lot of other kits they had as well. I love the artwork for the fairy Barracuda there, and it's, I think, a 1/48 scale kit, but they had a lot coming out. But they don't just do Trumpeter, they also do Adventures in Plastic, which they had here. And you can see a Warrior, an F-35, a Hunter, which competes with Revell, who have recently released one. And then we have all these wonderful Thunderbirds and sort of, I think, General Jerry Andersons, I think, from what I saw. That there's more than Thunderbirds, I think. But yeah, just what a spectacular array. The Trumpeter also have some licensing with these Transformers, which I'm assuming is sort of a Gunpla-esque model kit, but I really want to try these to see what they're like.
So, hey guys, I'm here having an interview with, well, someone from IPMS, and in order to do that, can you tell us who you are, how you come to be part of IPMS, and sort of what your role is?
Sure, so I'm Mark. I'm the publicity officer, the new publicity officer. I've been in the role probably for about the late summer. I came and joined the IPMS, but I've been a member for about 2 years. I'm a member of the IPMS Farnborough branch, and I'm also a SIG co-leader on the Gundam Gunpla SIG. So yeah, I'm kind of not your average modeler. I'm a bit of everything for me.
I guess on that note, what's your favourite thing that you've seen at the show so far from what you've been able to go around?
My favourite thing, I haven't had a lot of chance to actually go around and look at stuff, but the stand, and a collective thing that stands out for me, is the IPMS Middleton Cheney's video game kind of mashup thing, which I love. It's the creativity that they put into that as a whole was superb, absolutely superb.
I said that when I spoke to them yesterday. I just said it's like really high tier.
And the costumes.
Yes.
I mean, they've taken it to another level.
Yeah, they really went out hard on it. So it's been a really good international presence as always at Telford, and this year there's people from all over, including the Pakistan stand as well. Given all the changes that there have been over the years, has it become more difficult to get international clubs in, or how's that sort of changed over time?
I think it's starting to get better.
Okay.
And I know that we have, luckily, with the likes of, we have Special Hobby and ICM that joined Eduard, who we had last year. And hopefully that will continue a trend. We don't really know. I do know that the amount of entries into the competition from overseas modelers is down, which has been a little bit, particularly from the Czech Republic. There's been a big kind of downturn in their kind of entries. So maybe they might come back again. I don't know. But hopefully with the plans that we have for the show, that we can encourage more larger brands in that will then bring in smaller brands, and hopefully it will benefit everybody.
Yeah, and then the modelers will all flock with them, I assume.
Exactly.
This year's Scale Model World, which has been amazing from my experience, feels a lot bigger than last year. Obviously the competitions moved to a hall over there outside of the main 3 halls. Does this sort of indicate that we're kind of getting past the post-COVID, I guess, slump that there was?
Definitely. I think definitely. We know that the fact that we've been able to fill this area, whereas the competition area took up a kind of large section of one of the halls. I think it was hall 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was down there, yeah.
So that took up a reasonable amount of space, and it's not like Jadlam have filled that, let's put it like that, we've kind of managed to fill it, and we have the great thing about being here. I know there have been criticisms about maybe why don't we move it to down south into London area. I mean, I come from Surrey, so this is quite a trek for me, and it's because we have a flexibility with the Telford Centre, who are really amenable and appreciate us, and we understand them, so we can scale our show as we needs fit. So hopefully next year it'll be even bigger.
Hopefully. And on the subject of whether it should move or not, I mean, on behalf of all the Northerners, please no, because it's already in a perfect place in the middle for everyone.
I quite agree. I think being in the Midlands, it actually suits everybody, apart from those in Scotland. But then that's geography.
That's just the UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the changes that was last year, which I understand was due to sort of just a time thing was we got digital membership cards last year, which I thought was a step in a good direction. As with a lot of IPMS, it's not as digital forward as it could be, like magazine membership cards, that sort of thing. That didn't happen this year, and we've gone back to sort of only paper. Is there anything that will likely change, or any sort of plans to change that in the future?
Yeah, there are. I think it was due to a change of, we had a new person come in to do the membership side of things, so it kind of defaulted to the paper things. I know he's the new guy that's come in is very much in favour of having digital cards, as is the treasurer as well, and I support digital cards. I think what it'll actually happen is the amount of time and effort that's put in by the volunteers at those jobs, and the cost of posting them out, and obviously the IPMS has to pay for that, and those wasting it on that sort of thing when we can be putting it into more things here, or more things for the members as general, just rather than postage, giving it to Royal Mail. So I think that's definitely something on the cards, and there will be more digital stuff, sort of filtering through. So hopefully we'll kind of like be a bit more moved with the times.
So I guess being on that subject, obviously you invited content creators this year specifically, which I don't think IPMS have really done before. And IPMS have started Instagram as well, so it's a bit of a change in terms of having more of an online presence. What's caused that to happen now, and is that just something that's going to be like continuous going forward?
I don't like to play my own trumpet, but that's me. When I took on the role, we didn't have an Instagram account. I couldn't understand why we didn't have an Instagram account, because we're such a visual medium, it cries out for it. And so I set that up and promoted it, and we have made a lot of traction. We have now a lot of good interaction it's starting to go in the right ways. We also have a lot of support from some of the bigger brands. For example, Bandai, even though they weren't here, they supported us on social media massively. They were really good at promoting us. We have also reasonably good from Airfix as well. They support us, and hopefully we'll continue those conversations with the likes of Revell, and ICM helped us out a little bit as well. So we'll start to see that, and I think I've got big plans for other social media side of things with our Facebook groups, to kind of different strategy with that. And we won't be moving into YouTube, because I don't have the time to do a YouTube channel. So that's why I've got you.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
So, but that's the kind of key thing. I'm because I don't necessarily just build Spitfires or tanks or Star Wars or whatever. I build everything, and I have my approach to scale modelling is about the kind of whole. My dad was a railway modeller, so I've kind of grown up with creating landscapes and stuff like that. So, and my daughter, who's 9, loves dioramas, and we watch so much YouTube. And so many of these sort of like content creators who create dioramas and kit bash stuff, and I'd like those kind of creators to be here as well, and have retailers and groups that are like from the kind of worlds of fantasy and kind of like the tabletop gaming sort of side of things, miniature painting, all of that we have. It isn't just plastic models; it is scale modelling as a hobby.
So I guess the overall theme is that more of a diversification of what IPMS is. It's not just making a single model. It can be anything within the realm of crafting or model making.
Well, I mean, I completely agree. One of the stands actually that stood out for me, and I can't remember where they are, is Rubicon Models, and they have. When I was here last year, I wandered past and I thought, what's all that about? They're in a funny scale. It's 1/56 scale. What's all that? And I stopped and had a chat to the guys running, and they're making the dioramas. They don't do tabletop gaming, which it's designed for, but they make the dioramas, and because they take up smaller space, but you're not losing any detail. Yeah, they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's a great idea, and we need more of that, which is a different way of thinking. That's why I love Middleton Cheney's stand. Yeah, that's what we need.
And I guess a lot of the sort of push towards 3D printing as well has really changed both the accessibility of different subjects as well. So we've seen a lot of that on display, like you mentioned with their stand, and I guess that's going to help with the whole modelling scene change as well, I guess.
Yeah.
In terms of like 3D printing, is that something IPMS is just like embracing? Because I know that varies for lots of different modelling organisations.
I think I embrace 3D printing. I've got a 3D printer, and I think what it unlocks, the kind of creativity that you can have from all sorts of things. I think it's something that part of the hobby we have to embrace because it is so big. It is now, we could get even to the point where, you know, I've seen things where maybe manufacturers might sell us a kit and sell us an STL file that then we could, you know, they sell us a Sherman kit and then we could print our own stowage. Yeah. You know, so that's the kind of things that I think it's going to start to creep in, and it is part of the mainstream now. You can pick up, a 3D printer for a couple of £100,
yeah.
And like, so it is here to stay, and I think it's something that next year will have a bigger presence of 3D printing.
Amazing. Obviously part of me doing this with you is just to, I guess, talk about IPMS as a whole. So one of the things I wanted you to do was to sort of tell people why they should join IPMS.
Well, IPMS is, well, not only do you get into scale model world slightly earlier and cheaper. Yeah.
And on both days.
Yeah. And on both days, yeah. You get the magazine. It's more about the ability to sort of like the kind of social things. I know like the IPMS in the US has a much more bigger focus on the competition and the traders, whereas here our competition is important and our trade is important, but the fact that like-minded modelers can interact with one another and ask questions, and you can meet people that you might not see the whole year, but you kind of go, yeah. I think that's the kind of important thing, and I think that's the key thing for the IPMS as a big, you know, sort of features and benefit.
Yeah.
And I know from joining my own club how much camaraderie and fun I've had, a good laugh, and it's been wonderful. So that's the biggest thing, the kind of social side of things, rather than just being a magazine. And you know, there are other resources as well, but that's not something that every member's going to really tap into because it might not suit their modelling needs.
Yeah, but essentially it's just the sense of community, which I think obviously this whole show shows, like, once you've come here a couple of years, like, everyone just knows who you are anyway. So I completely agree. It's a great reason to be a part of IPMS.
And it's a good thing where you're a part of a branch and you get the ability, you know, like on my own branch, for example, we had celebrated 50 years of Farnborough's club. So our stand wasn't as creative as from Cheney's, unfortunately, but the whole ethos was about we all had to build something that was Farnborough inspired. I built something I wouldn't necessarily build, and I had good fun doing it. And we created it was quite nice being able to display my models with my fellow club members for the public to come round and go, that's great, or that's not so great, or don't look too close, sort of thing. But that's what that was about. It was good. It was really good.
And if you could give like 3 words to describe Scale Model World, what would they be?
Costly for your wallet. Amazing atmosphere. I don't know. It's hard. And big. That's been the kind of like tagline really from everything. Big.
Fair.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for answering these questions today, and hopefully I'll see you again next year.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Now it's time to look at a model manufacturer that I've not actually built before. And no, it's not because I dislike them or I've had a bad experience with them. It's just, I don't know, somehow I've just never ended up picking one of their kits. But I saw one on this table that I definitely want to build, so hopefully I'll give them a go soon. ICM have become a really well-known name in the modelling community, which, given 5-10 years ago, would not have been the case. So I think it's fantastic that they've become so successful. A Ukrainian brand that makes a lot of unusual and unexpected subjects. In fact, one of the ones on the table here is the Konkolski. There's also a FW189, the Owl, which is an aircraft I absolutely adore, and that's the one I really want to build. So I think I'm going to have to get my first ICM kit soon, which I think is really exciting. They had all of the sprues on display here for you to see, along with built models. A really lovely selection. Now, as I say, ICM is not one I built before, so I don't know the quality enough, but I hear nothing but good things about them. And I know there's a lot of other model maker content creators out there who love ICM, and they also that Japanese aircraft as well, which Mr. Modeler does love Japanese aviation, so that might be one to get them for Christmas maybe. Probably should have said that in this video though, because now he's gonna know. But yeah, I really love the the kits out here, and they look really nice, really well assembled, really thought through as well, which I think is really important on Spurridge. But yeah, look at that. It's just a beautiful kit. I'm so excited to get it. We also had a special hobby and Eduard here. Now, if you're wondering why the boxes look so empty, it's because I filmed this on the Sunday and they sell out quick every year. So amazing to see them back at the show this year. Again, they seem to have sold really well. We also had the suppliers for Italeri, Dragon and Tamiya here. And they had this new set, which seems to be like almost like Meccano-esque style, it seems. I didn't really speak to them about it, unfortunately. I was really excited when I came around and saw this, but it looks really interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that range develops over the years. But then, as I said, we had Italeri, nothing particularly new here, just as most of their like sort of newer releases on the walls there. And we had Tamiya. Now, Tamiya had a couple of new things out. Again, they had the F35, which they also had out last year, but we can see it in a bit more detail. It does sort of feel like the competition at the moment is to get the most detailed F35 or get the one with the most accuracy. So curious to see how the Revell and Tamiya ones do against each other, though it shan't be something I probably will be looking into much soon. They had this Lancia out as well, full sprue on display. I've never built cars, but I get very tempted, and I think I've said this both times that I've sort of done these videos, that I get tempted to build Lancias. I think they just look really cool. Here we have the larger scale F35 next to its counterpart, the 1/72nd scale one. I do like how they've done this though, letting you see both all the individual components, but also seeing the larger model too. It's a really unique way of doing it. That means you're not just looking at like, you know, a built model and thinking, oh, what's the actual detail like inside? Because you can see it all here. I think, again, really clever way to do it. We'd love to see more manufacturers take this sort of approach, but you do also have limited table size. So I guess it is a trade-off, but it does look like quite a cool kit. I'm not a rivet counter, I don't know in detail enough, but it looks nice. You know, at least from what I can see. If you want to read more about it, you should be able to pause there and give it a read. They did also have the P38, the Lockheed P38 Lightning here too. Really nice display. And then they had some dioramas next to this as well. I will say, out of all the displays, this was probably the most underwhelming. I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone, like it's not because of anything in particular. I think it's just, I was like so blown away by the other manufacturers this year that this felt like similar to what was there last year from sort of Tamiya and Italeri. But I'm viewing that as a positive, because what it actually means is Telford is getting better. The manufacturers are caring more about Telford as well, and hopefully it's going to drive nothing but positive changes going forward. Thank you so much to my channel members. Both starter kit and advanced kit level members help make this video possible. A shout out goes to my advanced kit level members, including Dafty Duck, Bob and Genevieve Albridge, David Barber, Taggers365, Jeff's Dioramas, Iron Duke, and my two longest advanced kit level members, Crazy Locha and Explosive Water. And it was so nice to meet so many of you at the show this year. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on my latest releases and sometimes my live streams. Currently, I'm building Bongood. And well, there's a recommended video here just for you as well. See you in the next one!